Trolley Problem Memes, Episode 3. Let's go. Preventable genocide. The train is packed with nuclear warfare. Okay, first I want to know what it means exactly to have a train that's packed with nuclear warfare. I'm going to assume that what they mean is something like the train is packed with nuclear warheads, although the first imagery is a little bit more exciting. The train is packed with nuclear warfare and is headed to a town. If it reaches the town, it will kill more than 10,000. 10,000 human beings, I'm presuming. If you pull the lever, the one you love the most will get run over and die. But the train will come to a safe stop on the brake pad. So do you pull the lever, killing the person that you most love, or do you do nothing, allowing it to go and nuke a town of more than 10,000 people? It's specified that the person you would run over is the person you love the most. So it's not some random stranger. I'm actually not sure if this is ethically relevant or not. It's a bit tricky to determine whether this applies to family, but certainly when you have a friend or a significant other, if you analyze it quite coldly, what you essentially have is something like a contractual relationship, a mutual understanding that you're going to put that person's interests over the interests of a stranger. That's essentially what friendship is. Now, of course, there are different kinds of friendships. I mean, sometimes you just enjoy another person's company, you just take pleasure from spending time with them. But as Aristotle pointed out, this kind of friendship is a little vapid. You're essentially just using another person for your own pleasure. You're only spending time with them because you enjoy it. Similarly, there can be professional relationships where you're friends with somebody who's a work colleague and the only real reason you spend time with them is because you think it might benefit your career or be mutually beneficial in that respect. Again, this is probably a little bit vapid. If somebody is a true friend, that is somebody that I truly love, I'm not just going to spend time with them when they're bringing me pleasure, even if they're being a bit depressive and upset. Maybe they've gone through a difficult experience recently. I'm going to spend time with them anyway, even though it might actually be a bad experience for me, because I have a duty of care towards this person, them being my friend. So arguably there is a case to be made, ethically speaking, that if this person is a friend or someone that you love most in the world and there's a mutual understanding in that respect, that you've made something like an implicit promise to them to put their interests above those of a stranger. And if that's true, then maybe you should be more reluctant to kill that person than to kill a stranger, not just because of emotional reasons, but actually ethically, rationally too. However, I do think the main reason that this is specified as the person you love the most in the world is for the emotional reasons. It's not really going to be an ethical consideration that makes you less likely to kill them. It's going to be an emotional one. You don't want them to die. But of course, many people will say that when we're doing ethics, we should be putting our emotional impulses to the side and acting rationally. So, can we kill any person, whether we love them or not, in order to prevent a nuclear warhead destroying a city of 10,000 people? If you're a utilitarian or consequentialist, the answer is going to be pretty straightforward for you here. Of course you should pull the lever, you should be killing one person to save 10,000. Utilitarianism is quite a cold ethical theory. It tells you that whatever's going to maximize the amount of pleasure and minimize the suffering in the world is just what you should do. But of course this is complicated by the fact that many people believe in the existence of human rights. They think that by virtue of being a human, you possess a set of moral and/or legal rights that protect you against various things. And the most fundamental of these is always the right to life. That is, you have a right not to be killed. Now, there are exceptions to this right, or qualifications that need to be made to the right, depending on your view, in certain circumstances. For example, most people agree that you can kill someone in self-defense. Even if they have a right to life, if you have to kill them to protect your own right to life, then you're able to violate that right in order to kill them. There are other views about rights, such as specificationism, which would say that you're not technically violating that person's right. You're just specifying exactly what the right is that they have, and in this circumstance, when they're attacking you, they just don't have a right not to be killed in self-defense. But whichever way you look at it, the idea is that yes, you can sometimes kill somebody despite them having this thing called a right to life. So the question is this one of those exceptions? Is saving a lot of other people one of the cases in which a person's right to life can be violated? And generally speaking, people have agreed that no, this isn't a permissible reason to kill somebody, to violate their right. One of the most famous examples of this is to imagine a patient in the hospital who has 5 healthy organs, and there are 5 other patients somewhere else in the hospital that all need each one of those individual organs to stay alive. The question is, can I kill that first patient, harvest their organs, and use them to save the 5 other people? Most people's intuitions scream at them that no, you can't do this, you're not allowed to do it, despite the fact that killing this person would save many more people. But this doesn't seem just to be because it's 5 people that you're saving. Oh, that's not enough people. It seems to be a matter of principle. It doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 6 people or 10 people. You don't get to kill somebody against their will to save those other people. But then what if we raise this number to something extreme, like 10,000? Then we're in the situation of this trolley problem. And if the principle is that saving lots of other people's lives is not a sufficient reason to kill another person, then in this situation, we shouldn't be killing the person. But this seems a little bit crazy, right? Are we really going to allow this bomb to kill 10,000 people just to protect the rights of one person? I mean, what about the right to life of those 10,000 people? Here's where things get interesting. We need to understand that having a right to life doesn't necessarily entail having a right to your life being protected and prolonged. Having a right to life usually means that someone can't kill me, but it doesn't mean that somebody has an obligation to save me. For example, if I'm drowning in a pond and somebody has to risk their life to come and save me, I don't have a right to demand that they do that, even though them failing to do so would cause me to die. My right to life doesn't mean that I have a right to my life being protected and prolonged, it just means that I have a right for it not to be ended. So in the case of the organ transplant situation, these 5 people who are going to die because they need new organs that simply aren't available to them, it's a sad situation, but their rights aren't being violated just because they die. If they're dying essentially because of natural causes, because their organs have failed, nobody's violating their rights by allowing them to die. Whereas in the nuclear warhead situation, somebody is intentionally sending a nuclear warhead towards a town of people. So these 10,000 people are going to have their rights violated by being killed, because in this case, they're not being allowed to die because their organs are failing or something, they're being intentionally killed by a bomb. This means that their rights are actually being violated. So does that mean that even if we believe in a person's right to life, we should still kill this one person to save the 10,000? Not necessarily. Because if you allow that trolley to go and kill that town of 10,000 people, presuming somebody's put those bombs in there intentionally, then yes, those 10,000 rights to life are being violated, but not by you. Those rights were violated by whoever it is that put the trolley in motion. Yes, you allow those rights to be violated, but you're not the one violating the rights yourself. If you're interested in this kind of thinking, there's a paper that you can read by Alan Gaworth called Are There Any Absolute Rights? In this paper, Gaworth discusses a situation similar to this one. He imagines that some terrorists are threatening to blow up a city, a bit like in our trolley problem, but this time they're asking a mother to torture her own child, and if she refuses to do so, they're going to detonate the bomb. So the question is, are there such thing as absolute rights, rights that cannot be violated? Presumably the child has a right not to be tortured by their mother, but also the mother has a right not to be forced to torture her own child. But here's a situation in which if that doesn't occur, then tens of thousands of people are going to die because these terrorists are going to detonate the bomb. And Gaworth says that yes, 10,000 people's rights would be violated here, but not by the mother. It's not the mother who's violating those rights, it's the terrorists who detonate the bomb. So if there are such things as human rights, and one of our basic moral principles is that if somebody has a moral right, you don't violate it, then the right thing to do for this mother would be to allow the terrorists to blow up the city, even though more people are going to die, and indeed even though more rights are going to be violated, because if we're asking what the right thing for the mother to do is, then the right thing for the mother to do is to not violate any rights. So in our trolley problem, if we do take a rights-based approach, then yes, those 10,000 people do have a right to life that shouldn't be violated, but by you refusing to pull that lever, you're not violating their rights. Whoever set the trolley in motion is. And so if you're asking what you should do as an individual, well, if you believe in rights, the right thing to do is always to refuse to violate a right. And so the right thing to do in this situation would be to allow that trolley to kill those 10,000 people. At least that's the conclusion of Gaworth's paper. If we believe in rights, then these rights need to be inviolable. That's what a right is, essentially, by definition. It's an inviolable claim that somebody else can't do something to you. And so sure, if a terrorist threatens to blow up 10,000 people, he's threatening a bunch more people's rights to life, but that doesn't absolve you of your responsibility not to violate rights yourself. Another good reason for thinking like this is pointed out by Philip of Foot, who observes that if we do kill one person to save 10,000 people from being blown up, then all a future terrorist has to do in order to get us to kill somebody is create a significant enough threat. If we kill one person to save lots more, then we're essentially telling the terrorists of the future, this is how you can win us over, this is how you can get us to kill someone that we don't want to kill. You've just got to make the threat big enough. So that's a kind of second order reason not to pull the lever. But you could also interpret examples like these as a critique of the view that there are absolute moral rights. You could say that, sure, Gewirth is right. If there are such things as absolute moral rights, then yeah, we should allow this trolley to go and kill 10,000 people instead of killing one with the lever. But then you could just say, but that's obviously not the right thing to do. It's obviously the right thing to do to kill one person to save 10,000, and for that reason, absolute moral rights can't exist. As they say in philosophy, one man's modus ponens is another man's modus tollens. But yeah, look, I mean, it seems to me that if you do believe that human beings have an inviolable right to life, then in this situation, you just have to say, bombs away. And just in time to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, I want to thank ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode of Trolley Problem Memes. ExpressVPN is a virtual private network that offers a really straightforward but crucial service of protecting your online security when you're browsing online. Whenever you're browsing online, lots of things are happening behind the scenes that you might not be aware of. For instance, in my country, internet service providers are required by law to keep logs of the websites that I visit. It's a little bit creepy, especially if you live in the USA, where this data can be sold to advertisers and big tech. Big tech companies are constantly trying to track what you're doing to figure out who you are, to build up a character profile that they can use to manipulate to turn you into more profit. The good news is that you can avoid a great deal of this by using ExpressVPN. It's a simple app that runs on your computer or your smartphone. All I have to do is tap a button, and within about a second, I'm now connected to a server in Germany. So the app reroutes my online activity through this separate secure server, which masks my IP address, hides my location, and allows me to browse online much more securely and anonymously. And it's not just Germany. There are a ton of different locations all around the world that you can virtually connect to and make it appear as though that's where you're browsing from. And the best part is that you can get 3 months of all of this completely for free by going to expressvpn.com/cosmic skeptic, protecting your online security, and by using my referral, helping my channel while you're at it. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me for episode 3 of Trolley Problem Memes. If you want more of this, let me know. And crucially, if you don't, let me know too. It's not rude, it just tells me not to make these videos anymore. And a special thanks, as always, to my top tier supporters on Patreon, without whom this channel simply couldn't exist in the way that it does. If you like my content, please do consider supporting me on Patreon using the link in the description. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.